So, what does it really take to be a great leader? Today, we're going to break down an incredibly powerful and honestly really simple framework from a top U.S. Army leader, retired Lieutenant General Naja West. It's called Do, Know, Be. And trust me, it might just change the way you think about leadership entirely. Let's jump in. This quote from General West really just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It gets right to the heart of the incredible responsibility a leader has. Your energy, your choices, your character, it all creates these ripples that end up defining the entire vibe for your team. It's a huge weight, for sure, but it's also a massive opportunity. Okay, so how do you handle that kind of responsibility? Well, it's not some magic quality you have to be born with. The US Army actually developed a super practical framework to break leadership down into three core pieces. And it's a tool that really anyone can use to check in with themselves and level up their own leadership game. Before we get into the framework itself, let's just look at the official US Army definition of leadership. The keyword here, and this is so important, is activity. See, leadership isn't just a title you've got on your business card, it's something you actively do. It's this ongoing process of influencing people by giving them purpose, direction, and motivation. This definition right here is basically the engine for the whole model. And that definition leads us perfectly into the very first pillar. What leaders must do. This is the action part of leadership. It's your job to be constantly, actively providing that purpose, direction, and motivation we just mentioned. And this isn't about giving a single rah-rah speech. It's a deliberate, everyday effort. Now, this is a really critical distinction that General West makes. It is so easy for all of us to get completely lost in the what we do, the daily grind, the tasks, the never-ending emails. But a great leader is always connecting that day-to-day work to what we are for, that bigger mission, that ultimate reason we're all here. And that connection, that's where real purpose comes from. And she tells this fantastic story that just illustrates this point perfectly. So she's a colonel at the time, visiting a hospital, and she goes up to this very junior soldier who's working in the radiology department, and she just asks him a simple question. What's your job? And his answer, it just says everything. I'm just a radiology tech, ma'am. You can almost hear it in his voice, right? That feeling of being disconnected. He saw his job as this small, kind of unimportant set of tasks, totally separate from the huge mission of the Army Medical Command. He was completely stuck in the what I do. And this is where you see real leadership in action. General West didn't just nod and walk on. She actually took a moment to connect the dots for him. She explained how, without his perfectly clear x-rays, the doctor couldn't make the right diagnosis. And because of that, a soldier might get deployed with an injury that could put their life and the lives of their entire unit at risk. She drew a straight line from his small task all the way to the success of the mission. And the change was instant. A little later, when the sergeant major asked him the same question, his answer was totally different. It was full of pride, full of energy. I'm a hot dang radiology tech, Sergeant Major. He got it. He now understood his purpose. He knew what he was for. So the big lesson here is just so powerful. It is the leader's job to draw that connecting line for every single person on the team. It doesn't matter if they're writing code, answering phones, or creating a spreadsheet. They have to see how their specific piece of the puzzle fits into the bigger picture. That's the real heart of providing purpose. All right, let's move on to the second pillar, which builds on that first one. What leaders must know. And this isn't just about being good at your job. It's about having this deep, multi-layered awareness of your entire world at work. So a leader has to know their craft, right? I mean, that's table stakes, but it goes so much deeper. You have to understand the whole organization's mission, its biggest challenges, and the priorities that are constantly shifting. And maybe the most important thing of all, you have to truly know your people. Not just what they do, but who they are, their strengths, their struggles, what really gets them going. Knowing your priorities sounds easy on paper, but it gets messy fast. What do you do when some sudden crisis pops up and you have to choose between two really important goals? This is where that deep awareness is so critical. General West talks about the 2010 Haiti earthquake. Imagine you're a clinic chief, totally focused on your patients, and suddenly you get an order to send half of your staff to the disaster relief mission. I mean, that's a tough call. That's going to hurt your own clinic. But that leader understood the bigger picture. The earthquake response was the absolute #1 priority. It's like a marketing manager having to pull her best person off a huge product launch to help with a last-minute presentation from a major client. Yeah, it hurts her launch, but she knows that client deal is the company's top priority right now. A great leader just knows what the real priority is. And that brings us to the final, and honestly, the most important pillar. What a leader must be. This is the bedrock. This is the foundation that everything else is built on. It's all about your character, your values, and who you are every single day. Now, the U.S. Army actually writes this down with its 7 core values, and a leader is expected to be these things, not just say they believe in them, to embody loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, personal courage. This isn't a list to memorize for a test. It's a code you live by that guides every single thing you do. Out of all the attributes a leader can have, General West points to one as being the most critical of all: empathy. That ability to make a real, genuine effort to understand the people you lead, that's what lets you treat them with dignity and respect. It's what makes them feel truly, deeply valued. You might not expect to hear something like this from a 3-star general, right? But this quote gets to the very essence of what empathetic leadership is. To lead people, especially when things are tough, you have to genuinely care. You have to see them as human beings, not just cogs in a machine to get a job done. And that foundation of empathy, see, that's what makes it possible for a leader to truly be all these other crucial things. To be a person of trust, to be transparent, to be a constant communicator, to be humble enough to say, I don't know, and to be optimistic enough to find the opportunity in any setback. These aren't just things you do, they are who you are. So we've walked through the do, the know, and the be of leadership. And now the framework kind of pivots from being an explanation to being a personal challenge for you. So here it is, all in one place. The challenge for you is this: how are you going to actively do the work of connecting your team to their purpose? How are you going to intentionally get to know your people and your real priorities better? And most importantly, who are you going to choose to be as a leader? And we'll end with the very same question General West leaves us with. Because leadership isn't some finish line you cross. It's a constant process of getting better. So the question for all of us isn't if we're leaders, because we all influence the people around us, but how we're going to consciously and deliberately work on it. How will you reflect on and refine what you do, what you know, and who you choose to be?